her seminal work, Atlas Shrugged, which came out in 1957. Of course, decades before we had such a thing as green energy. The green energy scam was decades away. But she really had the prescience to see where this was going, that capitalism, free enterprise would be eroded by phony free enterprisers, by phony capitalists who were using the system to make tremendous amounts of money at the expense of other folks. And I want to show this to you right now, because Canadians are leaving for good. They're leaving Canada for good in record numbers, probably because they don't think they have the opportunity to prosper. They don't see long-term gain in this country for them because it's been locked up by people like Mark Carney and his cronies. Canada's temporary population boom may be over, but its long-term resident outflow is just beginning. This is from StatsCan. StatsCan data shows emigration, the act of citizens or permanent residents permanently leaving, jumped higher in Q1 2025. Canadians left in the second highest Q1 volume on record, a trend that only gained momentum since the pandemic. So that's where we stand. Do you think, I pose this question to you, do you think Mark Carney would have won the election had he acknowledged the ethical conflicts? Had we known how many corporations he was tied to? Had we known that this was all hypocrisy with the United States, this so-called war that he was trying to start with the United States?
System of global trade anchored on the United States that Canada has relied on since the end of the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped to deliver prosperity for our country for decades, is over.
Whether it was a war of words or something else, we never were quite certain, but he played that to the hilt, didn't he? How he wants to govern is in the back room. That's Mark Carney's style of government. And he didn't want to reveal this during the election campaign because, of course, it would have had some effect. I think a largely very negative effect. But Pierre Poilievre have commented on this in a ex post, and it's very interesting. Mark Carney must explain why he kept these conflicts secret from voters until after the election. Now he will be in a position to profit from big decisions, or will be forced to sit out those decisions altogether. Either way, Canadians will pay the price. Now it's absolutely fascinating what is going on here, because Canada is becoming hollowed out. And as I've said many times, this, I think, is one of the most incredible charts I've seen. And this is thanks to Marty up north for this one. But this illustrates precisely what we've been saying from day one about the Carney government and about 10 years of the Trudeau government. Employment in 9 sectors decreases and 3 increase. 2 out of every 5 workers in this country, 2 out of every 5, that's 40% of a workforce, is working for the government. Can you think of another system where you have percentages that high working for the government? Well, yes. In a communist government, technically, you've got about 100% of the population working for the government, and that leads to economic catastrophe. If we keep going in this direction, we're going to have 1 out of 2 Canadians working for the government. And this is why Canada is in such financial trouble. And I quote Marty here. Payroll employment in April decreases in 9 sectors and increases in 3. We're shifting to an economy based on people who don't produce anything. 2 out of every 5 workers in this country are employed by government. 40% of our population are leeches sucking the life out of the country and their children's future. So look at the growth sectors in the Canadian economy. Healthcare and social assistance. Well, that's moving up. Public administration, educational services. It gets lower and lower. Construction is just barely on the positive side. Forestry, logging and support, well, that's about zero. Then it starts to go into the negative category until you get, these are all the real jobs on the left side of the page here. These are the jobs where people are actually producing products or services that are real. And that is precisely what Ayn Rand talked about in her epic novel, Atlas Shrugged. And we're going to play a brief interview, and then I'm going to read a passage from Atlas Shrugged, which I think describes Canada today. It's absolutely chilling. It's absolutely chilling how it describes Canada as we are today. Let's have a listen.
What we would not permit.
Yeah, I not only prescient, but completely relevant to the economy today. Now, I would like to read a section from the book, and this is absolutely incredible. This is from Atlas Shrugged, as I said, and that interview was from the old Mike Wallace reports. And before he did 60 Minutes, Mike Wallace was recognized as one of the greatest interviewers in the United States journalism. And that was part of a series he did with CBS News. So it says, then you will see the rise of the men of the double standard. That's Mark Carney. The men who live by force, yet count on those who live by trade to create the value of their looted money. The men who are the hitchhikers of virtue. In a moral society, these are the criminals, and the statutes are written to protect you against them. But when a society establishes criminals by right and looters by law, men who use force to seize the wealth of disarmed victims, then money becomes its creator's avenger. Such looters believe it's safe to rob defenseless men once they pass the law to disarm them. But their loot becomes the magnet for other looters who get it from them as they got it. Then the race goes on, not to the ablest at production, but to those most ruthless at brutality. When force is the standard, the murderer wins over the pickpocket. And when that society vanishes in a spread of ruins and slaughter. Do you wish to know whether that day is coming? Watch the money. Money is the barometer of our society's virtue. When you see that trading is done, not by consent, but by compulsion, when you see that in order to produce, you need to obtain permission from men who produce nothing, when you see that money is flowing to those who deal, not in goods, but in favors, when you see that men get richer by graft and by pull than by work, and your laws don't protect you against them, but protect them against you, when you see a corruption being rewarded and honesty becoming a self-sacrifice, you may know that your society is doomed. Money is so noble, a medium that it does not compete with guns, and it does not make terms with brutality. It will not permit a country to survive as half property and half loot. Very, very profound words. Thank you for sharing this station with your friends and family. Thank you for hitting that like button, because I tell you, we are fighting back in a way I've never had to before, because I am going to keep this station on the air. I am going to keep fighting for freedom. I'm going to keep fighting for justice and truth, because that's all I have left. And I am damn determined to resist this Carney government in any way possible, as it encroaches upon our individual freedom. And it will continue to do that, mark my words. And that's why we're here today. I'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place, 10 a.m. This has been David Crayden, Broadcasting live from our nation's capital in Ottawa. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.